Have you ever heard someone say that they want to speak Spanish fluently, but they need to speak without thinking? This does seem right, just like right now when I'm speaking my native language, English, it feels like I am not thinking at all. But this is actually what's not going on. This is what I like to call a Spanish speaking fluency myth, and in this video, we are going to talk all about it. So why do I consider this a myth? Well, the main reason is when we are speaking Spanish, our brains don't just automatically turn off. We are still thinking. And not only that, our brains are processing a lot of information. Okay, Joshua, I think when I speak Spanish, that's cool and all, but why is that really important when it comes to Spanish speaking fluency? This is very important to know because as Spanish learners, we always need to realize that when we are speaking Spanish, everything starts with the mind. So let's say that I want to say the word manzana, which is apple in Spanish. First, we are thinking of that word manzana before we actually say it. But what happens a lot with us Spanish learners is that even though we may be thinking of the word manzana, we actually aren't able to say the word manzana because it feels like there's a big brick wall from our mind to our mouths that prevents us from saying this word. We have to somehow figure out how to break this barrier here so we can say what we are thinking more smoothly. So me as a native English speaker, I have already broken this barrier that you have just seen. But the reality is I've been using this language for over 20 years. So my mind is just very used to this language. However, if I'm trying to learn a second language like Spanish, I am starting at year 0. So there still has to be a lot of development of my speaking skills. One thing that I really want you to think about is how much information that our brains are processing even when we are just saying one word. For example, when I have been saying the word manzana, first of all, I have to think of that word. Then I'm thinking about all the individual letters and how they sound before I actually say it. And then when I'm actually saying it, I'm focusing very hard on my pronunciation. So there's a lot that is going on even when I'm saying just one word. Let's imagine for a moment that you are having a conversation with a native Spanish speaker, okay? And they ask you, ¿Qué hiciste hoy? So the first thing is you are trying to comprehend what that person just said to you, right? So first, did they ask you a question? Are they just saying a statement? Are they just giving you a greeting? You know, what exactly are they saying? And you'll know that they're asking a question by their voice inflections and your knowledge of accent marks and things like that. All right, so let's say that you finally do understand what they say. All right, now you have to actually figure out what you would like to say. So you're thinking of everything that you just did today, and you have to think about what all those words are. And again, think about pronunciation. And then after you're done thinking about all that, then you have to say it. So there are so many things that are happening during a conversation that your brain has to process before you even actually start to speak. And speaking Spanish and continuing this process of thinking and then speaking is a whole challenge of its own. So that's one big reason why I call this a Spanish speaking fluency myth, because we're actually just processing information incredibly fast when we actually have the sensation that we're speaking without thinking. And again, for me, being a native English speaker, I have never analyzed these things before. I never analyzed my response time necessarily or that much of my communication. But as a Spanish learner, that's all I do all the time. I'm always thinking and analyzing my Spanish pronunciation, my grammar, my sentence structure. So I think now it's just I'm more conscious more conscious of how I speak and how I communicate. And this is how I've come to this conclusion. For me, this is very important information to share because I think it's very motivating to know that there is so many different things involved when we are thinking in Spanish and when we are trying to speak Spanish. There is so much information that our brain is trying to process. I don't want us to get very discouraged because we haven't reached fluency, whatever your definition may be. just because of how complex language learning is. Over time, it will become easier to push past that barrier that you have been facing, and speaking will be a lot more effortless, but you just have to be a little patient. Now, if you are looking to have better conversations in Spanish, I have created a free Spanish conversation blueprint PDF, and you can find the link in the description box below to subscribe to my email list and receive this in your email. Thank you for watching this video. My name is Joshua. This is Spanish Blueprints, and enjoy your journey to Spanish speaking fluency.